Hi. So today on this episode, we're going to talk about goals, but a little bit different from what you're normally used to. We're not just going to talk about setting goals and how we're going to, the process of setting goals and SMART goals and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about setting goals. Absolutely, we're going to do that. But why do we set goals and how do we make sure that we remember those goals and stick to those goals? So the first thing is, yes, you need to set goals, okay? I can't think of one success book out there that doesn't say that you should set goals, right? They all say that successful people set goals. And the reason we set goals is because we want to give our brain and our minds direction. The reason why we have what people call SMART goals, which is really defined, measurable goals, is because you need to give your brain something that it thinks it can reach. Okay, now we have different types of goals. We have big BHAGs, so the big, hairy, audacious goals. Okay, so we have those, and yes, you should set those as well, but they're like your long distance goals, I like to call them, right? On the map, they're way at the top of the country, that sort of thing, thousands of kilometers away. So we do want those. We want big, hairy, audacious goals because they're like the things that we're passionate about, changing the world, digital interruption, whatever it happens to be, industry interruption, those sorts of things. So those are your big, hairy, audacious goals. We want those, okay? Great, have those, but they're further out. But then you want to have these more SMART, measurable goals, which means they're more attainable goals that you can set for yourself, which means that your brain feels like they're also a little bit realistic. They should link to those big, hairy, audacious goals. Okay, so you set your hairy, audacious goals, change the world, 1 million customers, whatever it happens to be, $1 gazillion. Set those. And then you need to go, well, what's it going to take to get there? What's the first thing I need to do to get to that big, hairy, audacious goal? Okay, maybe I need to set up a new marketing plan. Maybe I need to launch a new product, write a book, launch a podcast. It could be a whole lot of different things. It could be start an exercise regime, get a personal trainer, all of these different things, right? So you want to set then some goals which your brain goes, I could do that. Like I can see how I could do that. I can see how I could lose 2 kilos. I could see how I could start an exercise program and an eating plan that could help me lose 2 kilos. I can see that, yes, it's possible I could create a new product. I could start a podcast. I don't quite know the steps yet, but I know that that feels possible and realistic, right? So that's what we talk about, having those goals that are defined and measurable, okay? Starting a podcast. Once it's started, you can see that you can measure that you hit the goal, yeah? So goals don't have to be complex. They just follow some simple rules. Has to be leading towards your big hairy goals, because we all have big hairy goals. Has to be leading towards them. And it has to be something that you can measure success. So you can get to a point where you go, I can say I've achieved that goal. Yeah. So simple. The other thing is, the very, very important thing is, don't have too many. Now, I know people are like, what? What do you mean? I need a health goal or this goal or that goal or blah, blah. I need 15 different goals. The problem with 15 goals is you have one human being body. You may have a team. That's great. They can help you with things. But you have 24 hours in a day. You have a certain amount of energy. You have possibly family. You have a home. You have all other things that you're responsible for as well. So you may decide to write down 15 goals, but you can't do them all at once. And you might say, I sure can, Louise. Watch me. Okay, you can give it a crack. But when you get to the end of the year and you're disappointed because you didn't hit any of them or you only got one, then come back to me. Okay? There's a reason why I say don't have too many. Is because exactly what I just said. We have a certain amount of capacity in our days, mental and physical. Okay? And every time we context switch between different things, we actually lose time, right? We create inefficiencies. So if you can be working full, flat, hard on one goal until you reach the end, you'll get there quicker, faster, and a more quality, quicker, faster. You'll get there quicker and at a higher quality than if you tried to juggle multiple goals at once. So if you're like, in the next 3 months, I want to hit these 5 goals, but they're so diverse and big. So if they're big as well, so like 3 big meaty projects and 2 small ones, okay? The 3 big meaty projects, you'll find the progress will be slow. One, you've got a context switch, and because they're big and meaty, right? And so you need to look at what your capacity actually is to achieve these goals as well. We want to set goals that are realistic, but then we also want to set a number of goals that are realistic as well. Now, a couple of things linked to these goals. Now, watch my other video on intentions, because I want your goals to not be in conflict with your intentions of how you want your life to be. Okay? So if you are, I want to be a mum that can be present, to go to the dance concerts, to go to the presentations, to pick the kids up from school, to drop them off so they don't have to go to after school care. If those are one of your intentions of how you want your life to be and feel, and that makes you happy, don't set yourself a goal which means you have to work days, nights, weekends. They're in conflict. Okay, so go watch my intentions video, do that as well, because I don't want your goals to be in conflict with the way you want your life to be, your intentions for how to be. Okay, really important, because that creates an internal conflict as well, right? You're constantly judging yourself. You're constantly second guessing yourself, because on this hand, you've said, hey, you said you want your life to be this way. On this hand, you said, but I'm going for these goals, which means can't have both of those things. And there's this internal conflict that goes on constantly. It's exhausting. Don't do it. Just don't do it to yourself. And then the second thing that it will link to is, once you have those goals, you'll know, you then need to define what it means to achieve them. So how do I know I've achieved those goals? And then how do I even get there, right? So the other thing then is to look for my 90-day planning workshop so that you can do a plan to hit those goals. And the reason why we do the planning is so that we can make sure it is realistic. Our expectations are realistic, and we want to win, right? We don't want to just do stuff and then be disappointed later. We want to set ourselves up for success. We want to know that we can hit the goal, or it looks like we could. Life happens and then we replan around that. But our intention is set, and we look like we have a realistic plan to get there, okay? So the planning is important as well. Realistic number of goals, measurable goals, and then a plan to get there. And a plan is just a guide, okay? And as we know, on any great journey, sometimes detours come up. So we don't stress about that. We just apply our planning skills, replan, reset, off we go again, okay? So that's, I think the important thing is the goals, the deadlines we create, and the plan are not a stick to beat ourselves when things don't go to plan. They are a guide. They're our compass. They're the thing that we use to make decisions every day. Yeah? So that's the next thing. Our goals should help us make decisions every day. And there's a couple of ways that we need to help ourselves do that. One is set the goal in the first place, so that every day we can go, when something pops up, right? Because bright, shiny objects, they like to pop up all the time. I had one just yesterday. Anyway, they come up, and then we have to go, hang on, that looks amazing. That looks like a great opportunity. And it kind of, works towards some of my goals, but ultimately it will impact me being able to achieve all of my goals, all my big, hairy goals, whatever it happens to be. And so you need to be able to make those decisions. And to make those decisions, you need to be clear on what the goal actually is. Okay? Secondly, you need to remember the goal. Not only do you set the goal, you want to remember it. So what I'm asking you to do is every day, read the goals. Like I said, you shouldn't have 20,000 of them, so it should be simple. 3 to 5 goals. Just read them. Remind yourself of them every day. And then join me every quarter to replan. So reset the plan so that we're heading towards those goals. Okay? So as part of my membership, we're doing that all the time, right? But we're definitely doing it every quarter. And so we want to make sure that we're resetting and replanning towards those goals all the time. But remind yourself every day. The reason we remind ourselves every day is because it starts to become embedded in our mind and in our subconscious. And what that means is that because it's then in your subconscious, you've told your subconscious, these are the things I want. This is where we're going. This is what we need to do. And then when something does pop up, it's much easier for you to make a decision, even on the fly, and feel good about it because you're like, nope, not aligned to my goals. Your subconscious goes, nope, don't say yes to that thing. That is not going to lead us to where you said you want to go. You have told me every day, this is where you want to go. And if you go and do that, we don't get there. Okay, so your subconscious will start supporting you in achieving your goals, but you have to remind it of your goals because we forget. Life happens, we move on, we set the goal, all this stuff happens and we forget the goal. Your subconscious forgets the goal. So read them and remind yourself every day so that your subconscious supports you in achieving those goals. Okay. Now, start of the year is a great time to set goals, but I like to continually review and revise them all the time. If I think about last year, the goals I set at the start of the year are not what I hit at the end of the year because life happened, stuff happened, and opportunities did come up and I made decisions to change goals as well, right? I actually made decisions to change my goals. But when you're really clear on what your goals are, then you can really make really good decisions in those points in time, right? So a decision will come up and you're like, that's going to change my direction. That means I'm not going to be able to do this, this and this, but I can do this. Is that what I want? Is that aligned then to a BHAG? Maybe the way I thought I was going to achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal is not the way I'm going to. Yeah? And so you start to, it helps you make better decisions, right? And it's that constant decision making and the uncertainty and the feeling of lack of control that makes us stressed and anxious and overwhelmed. And we want to release that. And it's really simple. Give yourself some clarity. Give your mind clarity on what you want and where you're going. Okay? So remind yourself of the big hairy goals and the little goals that you're heading towards. Your subconscious will support you in that. Don't make too many. Make them realistic. Make sure that you know when you've hit them. And use that as a decision-making tool every day. When something comes up, what will happen if I do this thing instead of what I was going to do? Is it going to distract me, deter me? And do I want to do that, right? You can still say yes to those things, but you're going in with a fully open mind, open heart, understanding of the impact of making that decision. Yeah. Okay. Your homework. Go set some goals and then join me in the planning workshop and let's make them come to life.